What's happening, gang? It's your boy Retro back again with another reaction video. Yeah. Today we got another huge update. You guys can probably already tell that it is going down. Just by that title alone, you guys are definitely gonna want to check this one out. So we got that former FBI director James Comey back in the legal spotlight after Trump's latest appointment to the U.S. Attorney's spot of Virginia just announced a new indictment for Comey's lies to Congress on his role in that Russia collusion hoax, guys, and I'm excited to get into this one. So we're not straight into it. All I ask that you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and without further ado, stop straight into it, folks. Check this one out.
Welcome back. The DOJ seeking to indict former FBI Director Jim Comey for perjury. The probe into Comey centers on whether he lied to Congress during his hearing on September 30th, 2020. And leaked Russia collusion to the press. President Trump fired Comey in 2017. The Russia investigation then was moved to special counsel Robert Mueller, who found no criminal conspiracy between Trump's 2016 campaign and Russia, because there was none. A Virginia grand jury is expected to release a decision in the coming days as this 5-year deadline to bring charges against Comey approaches this Tuesday. That is the statute of limitations. The latest development coming just days after President Trump called on Attorney General Pam Bondi to move forward with charges against Comey, Senator Adam Schiff, and New York Attorney General Letitia James. The president wrote on Truth Social, appearing to be a note to Pam Bondi: I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying essentially same old story as last time. All talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey? Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia, they're all guilty. Joining me now is Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator, what are your thoughts on this? Obviously, there have been attacks against this president now for a decade going.
And Maria, the American people really want to get to the bottom of this. If people did things wrong, they want them to be held to account. And what we see with James Comey is he has tried to say, well, this is what I said. He doesn't want to talk about what he knew or what he did, but it appears that there is a cover-up that several of them were involved in. And what we want to see is a justice for President Donald Trump and those held to account for what they have done to him.
All right, folks, we're finally seeing a little bit of justice and accountability for these very corrupt figures, as we now have the new announcement of an indictment of the former FBI Director James Comey. We can't forget that he brought this all onto himself by continually getting up there and lying to Congress from 2017 all the way up to 2020. Now he has to pay for it.
There should be no fuzz on this whatsoever. The Russians interfered in our election during the 2016 cycle. They did it with purpose. They did it with sophistication. They did it with overwhelming technical efforts. And it was an active measures campaign driven from the top of that government. There is no fuzz on that. It is a high confidence judgment of the entire intelligence community. And the members of this committee have seen the intelligence. It's not a close call. That happened. That's about as unfake as you can possibly get, and is very, very serious, which is why it's so refreshing to see a bipartisan focus on that, because this is about America, not about any particular party.
So that was a hostile act by the Russian government against this country?
Yes, sir.
In that time frame, there were more than the DNC and the DCCC that were targets.
Correct. There was a massive effort to target government and non-governmental, near-governmental agencies like nonprofits.
What would be the estimate of how many entities out there the Russians specifically targeted in that time frame?
It's hundreds. I suppose it could be more than 1,000, but it's at least hundreds.
Do you stand by your House testimony on March 20th that there was no surveillance of the Trump campaign that you're aware of?
Correct.
You would know about it if they were, is that correct?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
So not only did we see James Comey lying to Congress, but we've seen him doubling down to further push this false narrative of some sort of Russian interference within our election system. And then the most notable clip right here is James Comey lying under oath 4 years and 360 days ago, as we're quickly approaching that deadline of the statute of limitations. 5 years is what it is, and this is what they're trying to prosecute him for right now.
So do you recall getting an inquiry from the the intelligence community in September 2016 about a concern that the Clinton campaign was going to create a scandal regarding Trump and Russia?
I do not.
You don't remember getting a investigatory lead from the intelligence community? Hang on a second. Let me find my document here. September the 7th, 2016, the U.S. intelligence officials forwarded an investigative referral of FBI to FBI Director James Comey and Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Peter Strzok regarding U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's approval of a plan concerning U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections as a means of distracting the public from her use of a private email server. You don't remember getting that or being taught? That doesn't
ring bells with me.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty stunning thing. It didn't ring a bell, but it did come to you. Let's just end with this. You get this inquiry from the Intelligence Committee to look at the Clinton campaign, basically trying to create a distraction, accusing Trump of being a Russian agent or a Russian stooge or whatever to distract from her email server problems. And how far-fetched is that, Mr. Comey, when we now know that the Democratic Party, through Fusion GPS, hired Christopher Steele, a foreign agent who had a very strong bias against Trump, who hired a Russian subsource who the FBI believed to be a Russian spy to compile a dossier that was a bunch of crap to be used against an American citizen working for the Trump campaign. You already knew that. Seems to me you'd want to investigate other allegations, but you're telling me that you don't recall this.
And there are numerous times that we've seen James Comey getting up there blatantly lying under oath, lying to Congress to attempt to further push that false narrative of some sort of Russian interference or Russia collusion coming from the Trump administration. Now we have Lindsey Halligan, Trump's latest appointee to that U.S. attorney spot over Virginia, stating that it is time to drop that hammer. And I believe that James Comey said it best when he said that these rules need to be enforced with an iron fist so that the system will work.
The entire justice enterprise in the United States depends upon an honor system. It depends upon people, when they raise their right hands in a courtroom or when they speak to an investigator at a doorway or in an office building, it depends upon them telling the truth. It depends upon them abiding a promise they made to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And we are long past the days when that oath was backed in most people by a fear of going to hell. And so it turns out it's an honor system. To get information, to be able to find the truth, and the truth is a real thing. There are facts, there are things in this life that are verifiable or falsifiable. The entire justice system is built around the notion that the truth can be found to a high degree of confidence. But to find it, you have to count on people to tell it to you. And because they might fear to tell it to you or be motivated by greed or other human flaws not to tell it to you, when you encounter a situation where someone has not told you the truth, as a federal employee, as a Department of Justice lawyer or an investigator, you must pursue that aggressively to send a message to the others who might follow and raise their right hand or speak to an investigating agent, that they will be incentivized to tell the truth, maybe not by fear of going to hell any longer, but by fear of going to jail or being ruined. That honor system has to be enforced with an iron fist so the system will work, so the truth can be found in a reliable way.
And there it is, straight from the horse's mouth, James Comey stating that rules need to be enforced with an iron fist so that our system will work. Those who raise their right hand and still continue to lie underneath oath need to be held accountable and penalized for their action, and these rules apply to James Comey as well. And now we have Trump and other right-wing officials coming out and speaking on the news of these latest indictments.
Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen because I don't know. You have very professional people headed up by the Attorney General, and Todd Blanche, and Lindsey Halligan, who's very smart, good lawyer, very good lawyer. They're going to make a determination. I'm not making that determination. I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so. I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI. And but I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen.
What is your message to James Comey?
Lawyer up, Big Jim, and we are going to be making the 6'6" prison jumpsuits as we speak, because this guy is a snake. He participated in the biggest scandal in American history. When they talk about the threat to democracy, Crossfire Hurricane and the cover-up is the gravest threat to democracy we've seen in America. And so justice is definitely coming.
Stephen, I want to move on to this news that the DOJ is considering indicting former FBI Director James Comey for allegedly lying to Congress. Your reaction tonight?
Well, I don't have any news to make on that subject or question, but I'm always happy to talk about disgraced former FBI Director James Comey, who of course is corrupt, who of course has been engaged in vast amounts of illicit and unlawful conduct, who of course was at the center of the Russiagate attack and assault on American democracy. There are so many people, Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Monaco, all across the government under previous administrations who have worked tirelessly to try to dismantle our democracy. And it has to lead somewhere to accountability.
Got to be accountability.
That was our President Donald Trump and other right-wing officials state that it's time to see accountability and finally see justice in this situation. Meanwhile, we've got MSDNC having live meltdowns, visibly terrified over the announcement of the new indictment.
What the allegations are. So we're seeing reaction online. There's reaction from one MAGA account with 1.3 million followers saying this is exactly what I voted for. Also, dear James Comey, retribution is coming, TikTok. And then they post sincerely 77 plus million MAGA patriots. How is this different, the way that Donald Trump has influenced or set up his Department of Justice this time around, Carol, compared to the last term? You know, I'm so glad you asked because I find it absolutely riveting to watch.
James Comey is expected to be indicted in the coming days. The full extent of the charges being prepared against Comey is unclear. Joining us now, MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian and MSNBC Senior Investigative Correspondent Carol Lenig. Chris O'Leary, Ashley Parker still with us. Carol, help us understand the reporting.
So, Katie, we have some sources who say that for several weeks now, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of Virginia, and actually in offices that are potentially much further south than Alexandria, have been eyeing ways to indict Comey, and they are getting very much closer. The statute of limits, rephrase, they are arguing that Comey, there is evidence to suggest Comey lied to Congress in his testimony on the Hill in September of 2020. And for viewers out in the audience who may not be legally as nerdy as me and Ken, I'll just say that there's a statute of limitations to charge people with the crime of lying to Congress or perjury, and that's 5 years. The 5-year statute runs this month.
Oh my goodness, guys, and please excuse me for laughing, but we can clearly see that panic written all over their faces. And now we have MSDNC coming out doing the unthinkable as they urge DOJ officials to revolt and push back against the DOJ if they do indict James Comey.
Stands for.
Joyce, if it is such a dire moment, what is your advice, your message right now to those people inside the Justice Department, inside these U.S. attorney offices, the, rank and file prosecutors that are doing the work to bring cases like this one? What do you say to them?
So the mission inside of U.S. attorneys' offices across the country is to keep their communities safe. And in difficult times like this, the traditional advice to federal prosecutors is to keep their heads down, do the important cases in front of them. Because the cases that we're talking about, Anna, that's maybe 1% of what's going on in the Justice Department. But every day there's violent crime, there's drug crime, there's civil rights violations and white-collar crime that prosecutors and agents across the country are working on. The issue prosecutors are hardwired to understand, and I hope Americans will understand this too, is that when you become an assistant United States attorney or a political appointee in an office, you check your politics at the door. You walk in and you do your job looking at the facts and the law without fear or favor. And that's what I believe Andrews and my former colleagues across the country are trying their hardest to do right now. There may be a moment for difficult choices coming for many prosecutors, and I hope that when those moments come that the American public will stand up and support these people. I think if there is a move to indict Jim Comey, we will likely see resignations out of Alexandria and Richmond. We may see other forms of protest by career prosecutors. It's a unique moment, and I think that these people will rise to it.
Absolute meltdowns and pure panic is what we're witnessing from these loonies on the left, as they're now urging DOJ officials to stand up and speak out against the indictment of James Comey. But I'll tell you right now, none of that is going to help with the tough on crime prosecutor Lindsay Halligan. She's going to get the job done. And speaking of indictments, James Comey is not alone, as Lindsay Halligan is also pursuing Big Tish James. Meanwhile, she's still screaming that this is all baseless and a political witch hunt.
Donald Trump said that he said that he called me all kind of names, and he basically directed the Department of Justice to investigate my affairs. And they're using mortgage fraud as the vehicle upon which they're investigating myself, Adam Schiff, Miss Cook, Lisa Cook, and countless others. And it is, most of it, as you know, is frivolous. It's baseless, because in order to prove mortgage fraud, one has to prove intent. And that's a very high standard, a very high bar to meet.
The office is expected to charge Tish James, the New York Attorney General, with mortgage fraud. And of course, Donald Trump, we all saw it posted on Truth Social in recent days, exhorting his Attorney General to charge both of those people as soon as possible. But again, grand juries are secret. This is a fluid situation. It's also important to know, though, that the U.S. attorney, the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in this office, Eric Siebert, was essentially forced out last week, in part because he was refusing to bring these cases. We're told that he was opposed to prosecuting both James and Comey on these grounds, and he's out.
Once again, we're seeing that rules for thee, but not for me. Attorney General of the state of New York, Tish James, claiming that this is all baseless and an act of political revenge or retribution. But I will refer her back to her own statements when it comes to this case.
No one is above the law, no matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are.
Our job is to follow the facts and the law without fear or favor.
The fact is, no one is above the law.
No one, not even the president, is above the law.
So there's the answer for Big Tish James and James Comey, that no one is above the laws. We've seen stated by not only them, but all their constituents. It's time to finally see some accountability. Lindsay Halligan dropped that hammer, and of course this has the internet buzzing surrounding the indictments of not only James Comey but Letitia James. And I'm excited to check out what some folks on X are reacting to the situation saying. And first up here we have our friend, the independent fraud investigator Sam E. Antar, licking his chops, saying yes, Letitia James will be indicted. There is more than sufficient evidence to indict her, despite the deliberately vague claims from anonymous sources. Oh my goodness, it's getting good, guys. Grab your popcorn. We have Emerald Robinson here on X weighing in, saying Pam has had 10 months to indict Democrat criminals for targeting Trump. Bondi's record, 0 indictments and 0 arrests. Lindsay Halligan has had 3 days, yes folks, 3 days in the job, and she's indicting disgraced FBI Director James Comey. Bondi is the problem. It's got me raising a little bit of an eyebrow and little questions and concerns surrounding Pam Bondi. Is she actually doing her job? I hope this is not the case, but Emerald Robinson and other folks on X are starting to point the finger and say maybe Pam Bondi might be the problem. We got our friend Cat Turd here on X weighing in, saying, I want to say this. James Comey arrested today, quote unquote, and we can see right here that James Comey has been in the trending politics on X. He's number 8 on the trends list. So I don't know. We're getting very close. We're getting very close to finally seeing some accountability in that regard. We have our friend Lee Boggs here finally on X. Last one, the best time to indict Letitia James and Jim Comey was yesterday. The second best time is today. We need to get it done. I don't know what all the talk is about. Tired of hearing that talk. Let's see some action. Yo, there we have it, guys. Oh my goodness, the situation is heating up very quickly as we now have indictments being announced for James Comey and that corrupt New York Attorney General Tish James. We got Lindsay Halligan, the newest U.S. Attorney for Virginia, appointed by Trump, saying that she is not going to be light on crime. She is going to get the job done and finally get these cases across the finish line, something I'm very eager to see. It's got me on the edge of my seat waiting, folks. But of course, we'll cover any updates that come right here. We know the statute of limitations expires on Tuesday. Yes, folks, Tuesday. So we could be looking to see a full-on indictment of James Comey by Tuesday at the latest. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen there, guys. But definitely hop in that comment section. Comments are open. And I'm excited to hear what you guys are thinking on this one. Also, make sure you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd enjoy more content like this, catch you guys on the next one. We